Hi everyone, this is Erin from Sandpaper Road, and I'm here today to share a project that I'm calling Shaker Card Inside Out, featuring products from Creekbank Creations. This is probably not a new concept, but I thought I'd just try to make a shaker card in a little bit of a different way by building the shaker down into the card instead of up from the top of the card. So I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm using a stamp set from Creekbank Creations and all kinds of different products, and I'll link below to those. And for the acetate, I'm using a piece of deli lunch container plastic. I'm using Staz-On Ink, which is a solvent ink. You can ink on any type of surface, glass, metal, whatever, ceramic, giving the ink pad a fresh little refresher with the re-inker. And you are going to want to tape this down into your stamping platform. Definitely the magnets are not going to be enough. And stamping directly onto the acetate. This is a really good stamp set. We have a pastor's appreciation coming up, a pastor's anniversary. I have some Staz-On stamping ink cleaner. Really good to have. Your regular stamp cleaner is not going to get all of that solvent ink off. And I'll link down in the description box to all these products below if you're interested. So once you stamp on the acetate, I pull that up, and that's just some washi tape. Now I have a piece of cardstock I'm using. It's from my stash. I believe it's from Stamping Up. And I'm cutting at the 4.5 mark vertically. Now this is very important, this next part. I am scoring in 2 places instead of 1, at the 5.5 mark and at the 5 3/8 mark. Look right there, you see that? Now the 2 score marks, they're pretty close together. So you're gonna have to just really work a little bit with your bone folder or your folding tool or whatever, and get it so you've created a little bit of allowance. That's not something you have to do on a regular shaker card because you'll build from the top. But see that little allowance right there? It's almost like a little tiny book binding almost, even though it's not binding anything. You're just creating an allowance. These are dies from Creekbank Creations. There are 3 dies in this set, and they are stitched on the inside and on the outside. And I just put it right on the front of the card. This is the middle die of the 3. Once I die cut it, I use a little bit of undo to pull up the washi tape because I don't want to rip the cardstock. And I'll talk a little bit more about undo in a few minutes. I'll say this right now, it doesn't hurt the paper. It dries in just a second. Now I'm holding the acetate that's stamped on top of the front of the card. And there is the largest die right there. So I get it to where I want. Now look at that. See how it's got a little tiny purple lip on the inside there, but it's perfect. Once I run that through my die cutter, I can pull that off. And I've got a perfectly cut shape of the acetate. This is very similar to if you make window cards just without a shaker. It's that same type of concept. And this is some Creekbank Creations 1/4 inch super tacky tape. I am going to, well, I started off, I say off camera because I actually did this and had to use undo to take it all apart. But that works really well. I'm showing you the best way after my mistakes. Putting the adhesive directly onto the acetate instead of trying to put it onto the cardstock. The adhesive strips really move around much better this way. I know there's a few tricks of the trade where you can take the liner off first or the release paper, but that worked fine for me. So now you've got, it's really a perfect fit, honestly. You've got the die cut about 1/4 inch larger than the hole. I mean, the acetate cut about 1/4 inch larger from the hole, but then the tape itself is 1/4 inch tape. So it really is perfect. And like I said, it's just like creating a window card without a shaker. This is metallic cardstock that I've run through a 3D embossing folder. and just dragging more of that Staz-On ink over top. And it probably looks like I'm grinding it into the cardstock, but I'm really not. I'm just rubbing it really fast, just to bring out some of those shapes and images. Now, my goal here is to create a little frame to cover up that tape that's on the card. Now I'm getting the smallest die of the three, and that will then create the frame. But for a minute there, I wasn't sure what I was doing. I thought, well, maybe I want the middle one. I thought, how would that create a frame? That could never create a frame. So yeah, the smallest one is the one you want, the smallest and the largest. And just a little bit of washi tape right over top. Run that through my die cutting machine, and you could save all those extra pieces that we're not using. And the frame fits just perfectly to cover up that tape. Although, because I had a positioning issue, I wanted it a little bit higher, and I'm allowed to change my mind, but then I had some tape right there, and I thought, what in the world am I going to do to cover that up? So I thought, well, I will just create a regular old panel, and there's some pattern paper I had from my stash. I think it might be from Creative Memories from forever ago. I just liked the feel of that. Cut out a hole right there in the middle, just like I was going to create a regular panel. And this is more of that double-sided tape there on the roll. So what I'll do is I'll lay down that background panel paper and then put the frame over top, and that'll cover up the tape just perfectly. And then I ran out of tape of the roll. It just seemed like one thing after another was happening when I was trying to make this video. But luckily, Creekbank Creations had sent me another roll to have on hand, and I was really happy about that because I use this tape a lot. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about undo. You saw me put all the tape down, and now I saturate that because there is no way I'm going to get that right on the first try. I'm just not. And when it's all saturated like that, look on the left of the panel there. You'll see it just kind of pop up when I move it. Just keep it there. Did you see that pop up? It allowed me to move it, pop it up, position it, get it right where I wanted, because it's not sticky. In a few seconds, it will re-become sticky. It's honestly the best thing ever invented. Then the panel over top, or a panel, the frame right over top to cover up that tape. And you could even, that's good enough, honestly. You could just leave it right like that and it would be a cute window card if you wanted. Now I'm going to cut a panel. It's roughly 4 3/16 by 5 3/16 to go on the inside. Let me show you some details here. There's the window card. Use these dies. There's a good look at the stitch dies. And look at that. Look how clean that looks. You could just leave that right like that. But to make the shaker, now look closely there. You see that tiny lip? There is a tiny lip in between, right where the white is and the purple. That's where we're going to put our foam tape and build our shaker. So I cut from a piece of white using that same inside die and then ran it through the embossing folder, and that's where that will go right over top, and then that panel will go right over top of that. First we'll fill the shaker. So that's why I'm calling it the inside out, because you're building it backwards instead of building it forwards. Give it a try, see if you like it better or worse. I like the way that it looks so clean on the inside. That's a little Distress Oxide ink over top of the embossed words. Now for this, I actually, in real life, I would use black because I'm using a dark card base and I think it would blend real nicely. But for the sake of the video, I really wanted that tape to show up. So I'm going to use the white foam tape, and it is about 1/4 inch thick. Honestly, and I'm not even just saying that, if you make a lot of shakers, this is the tape you want. This is the foam tape you want. I have never used a foam tape that is as workable as this. And look at that. It's 1/4 inch and it fits right into that little lip. The whole thing made me very, very happy. And watch this. This is I didn't even know it was going to work like this because I had never used the tape before. But you know how sometimes you have to pull the release paper off to be able to bend it around or fold it around? This tape, you do not have to do that. It folds and bends easily. And then you just cut it right off. And it is sticky, super sticky. So even if I wasn't, being sent the products to use, honestly, I would order this for myself for real. It's great. Remember that what you're seeing is me working on the inside now of the card. And you can tell because the words are backwards. So you can see that I'm on the inside. Oh, I just wanted to show you quick. There's a roll of tape I hadn't started and the roll of the tape that I used. You can see how much I used of a roll on the card. Just to give you an idea of how many cards you might be able to get out of a roll if you make a lot of shaker cards. So on the inside then, again, this might be different than making shakers the way you're used to. You just cover the inside. So when you open up the card, of course, we won't see it. We'll cover it up. But that's right where that white panel is going to go. Then the purple over top. And we're building backwards. These sequins, I know, are also available at the Creekbank Creations shop. I'm going to try to find them online. I know they do a lot of like shows and stuff. If there's stamping shows, scrapbooking shows in your area, they're at many of them, and you could just check their show schedule on their website and give them a visit. It's always fun to browse through. They carry a lot of stuff that you can't find in too many other places. So I work with the release paper then at this point, and pick tool is extremely helpful because it's so sticky. Pulling that off. In hindsight, I probably would have used a little bit less sequins, and for this, I kind of second guessed it, and then when it's like, I better just go ahead and use that undo. It's just one quick drizzle, and it makes that foam tape not sticky for just a little bit. See it saturate the white? See how it looks wet? That'll dry in just a few seconds. And then you'll have a perfectly placed sticky thing. So then I go through and pull off the release paper off the rest, which I'm sure you're not interested in, so I cut over that. And then I just lay the purple panel right on top. And because we have scored it twice and created a little bit of allowance, when you fold that shut, this is my favorite part of the whole project, it folds perfectly. Now, it's not necessarily a flat card, but it's only as thick as that allowance. So great. I love it. You can decorate the outside a little bit more. I'm actually going to add a sentiment on the inside, which I did not think of until after the fact. So now I have to stamp it all funny. But that's okay. I have a Tim Holtz stamping platform, and I'm just going to open it up. I turned it around upside down so that I could get it the way I wanted it to look. I could never do it right side up because that shaker part's in the way. Now the stamp set that I'm using does have a banner, which is so versatile. You can use it with other sentiments too, or decorations, whatever. So I'm going to use regular distress ink for the banner, and in the same color almost as the cardstock, that Dusty Concord, just to give an idea of a banner. Then I'll use the sentiment in Distress Oxide ink. That oxide is the antique linen, and it's lighter color, and because it's a hybrid dye and pigment ink, you'll be able to see it real well. But keep in mind that when you're using those oxides, they stay wet just a bit longer than the regular inks because of that pigment ink quality that they have. So just be mindful that when you shut your card, you might want to put a little piece of plastic or something in there. That just says we are praying for you. I love that set. Nice. That'd be even great for sympathy cards or encouragement cards or something. So I just put the little piece of plastic from the stamp set just in there because I wanted to keep the card shut while I added some paint. And I know people who, not everybody likes to do this on their cards. I almost can't help myself. It's just a little bit of black acrylic paint and a light drag with my palette knife. Some people think it ruins a project. I don't know. I think of Bob Ross. Does he ruin a project when he puts a big tree in the middle? Some people think he does, and some people just, it's just his thing. So this is just my thing. I like it. I like it especially on like masculine cards. I think it just makes it, it just gives it a nice touch. And then I'm going to go over top of it with a little bit more paint. This is white then over top. Just a little bit. I mean, a light drag. And that's good enough for me. I don't want to overdo it. Yeah, that looks good. I like it a lot. Now I've got some liquid adhesive. I'm going to add just a few of these sequins, those same ones from the inside shaker. I'm going to add a few of them on the outside just for a finishing touch. And I was using my jewel picker, but I don't know. My jewel picker was being really funny. I don't know if it was the temperature in my house or what, but it was really getting on my nerves. So I gave up and just got to my tweezers. I'll go back to that jewel picker some other time and try to fix my issue. But yeah, whatever is fine. And there's the final project. I love it. It's so nice. Great project. And you can see there's a nice close look. There's going to be more close-ups on my blog. And also, again, step-by-step with the dimensions that I talked about and the scoring measurements and that. So visit the blog. The link is in the description. Thanks so much to Creekbank Creations for providing the products today. You can check all of their products out at creekbankcreations.com. They ship free in the US. And thanks so much for tuning in. And don't forget to follow Creekbank Creations and Sandpaper Road on social media. And thanks for subscribing. See you in the next project. Bye-bye.